Thank you, Cheryl. I appreciate it. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that bio tells you two things about me, which I know is crucial to talk to a group of you good folks. I take my responsibility to you, to the marketing profession, to our customers, because that's who we're both working for today, very, very seriously, but I try not to take myself very seriously. We have two objectives today. One is a little re-energizer kind of a thing, and also to talk a little bit about branding. Give you some more things you can take back to the workplace on Monday morning to help make you do what you do so well even better. So, off and running, here we go. How many of you have ever been to an auction just out of curiosity? Oh, a lot of people have been indeed. So when the auctioneer goes, 125, I'm going to get $30 bid, 35 now, $40 bid now, 45 now, 50, 55, 55, 55, 55 now, 60, 60, 60, 60, 60, 60, 65, 65 back there, 70. Your turn, $70, 70, 70, 70, 70, 70. 65 now, 70, 70, 70, 70, 70, 70, 70, 70, 65 now, 70, 65 now, 70. Sold to the big spender back yonder there, $65. Thank you, man. Give her a big round of applause. Well done. Professionals here. What you just heard there, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope you can see this. That doesn't seem to want to cooperate. What you just heard there is what we call the auctioneer's chant. At any time in your life, even if it was just a second ago, had you ever thought it'd be neat to know how the auctioneer does that? I mean, just to know how that goes on. No kidding. What if I told you that 15 or so minutes from now, you would be able to do the exact same thing? I don't know this group very well. Which is why you suggested I had the podium at the back of the room by the door, right? So I could slide on out of there. Well, hear me now and believe me later, that's where we're going. We're going to have a little bit of fun and I'm just going to kick back a little bit. Remember, it's re-energizing time. You're not going to be graded on this for crying out loud. So off and running, here we go. Pardon me for undressing on you here, but when we get, so I don't jingle-jangle too much as we're up here. The auctioneer's chant. In 15 minutes or so, you and I together, with your permission, your help, and your cooperation, of course, we will learn the fundamentals of what is called the auctioneer's chant. We will make you into an honorary auctioneer, and yes, indeed, we can accomplish this in around 15 or so minutes. And so we'll just kick back and have a little enjoyment as we go about doing that. Ordinarily, I like to tell the group, hey, don't worry, relax. Relax, because sometimes, a speaker gets up here and says, hey, we're all going to walk on hot coals. Let's go you and you and you, and here we go, and you get yanked out of the audience. I do not call on anybody. There will be some volunteer opportunities, but it's not my goal to make anybody feel uncomfortable. So kick back, relax. I'm not going to be singling anybody out, so don't have that worry. No need to get that emergency phone call, that emergency page, I got to go, Just kick back and enjoy, because today is all about you, about all of us together having a little fun and just seeing how much energy we can pull out of the group together here. So first and foremost, relax. One of the things that would... what do you think would be one important, fundamental, baseline skill an individual would need to have if they were going to be an auctioneer? They would have to be able to talk fast. Did anybody say anything else? And hear well, too. That would help, wouldn't it? Yeah. Now you know why I'm doing this instead of that, you see. That is very true. People tend to think that. You've got to be able to talk really, really fast. And while it's good to be able to talk fast once in a while, because you can, in fact, invoke a sense of urgency in what you're talking about, it's good, but it's not essential. In fact, being able to talk fast is kind of far down on the list of things you need to be able to do to be a good auctioneer. What is important, in fact, what is very, very important, is that we be clear and understandable, we have a good tonality and pitch, and that we have good rhythm. What we're doing as auctioneers is not at all unlike what you're doing out there in the field every day. We are talking about customer relationships. We are talking about marketing. And we're talking about doing that roughly a transaction every 2 to 3 minutes or so. So we just do it maybe a little bit faster with a little greater sense of urgency. But these are the main criteria that an auctioneer needs to have to really be effective out there as an auctioneer. As a matter of fact, this is the criteria that is used in the auctioneer's contest. Speed is not even a factor. They want to know, are you understandable? Do you have a good tonality? And do you have a good rhythm? This whole business about being clear and understandable Doesn't that kind of make good sense? You all were good enough to jump in there and join me as I was going along there. It's important that you, as the customer, always know what the existing bid is and what the asking bid is, where we are and where we're trying to go, so that you know whether you want to give that bid or make a counter offer or whatever. Just like regular marketing in a lot of ways, isn't it? It's all about making sure the offer is communicated in a clear way. So it's all about being able to be clear and to be understandable. You know, one of the challenges the auction business has had, a marketing challenge they've had, is people sometimes are afraid to go to auctions because they're afraid they won't know what is going on. And a lot of auctioneers, I think, we think that we're like magicians or something. If you can't figure out what's going on, that makes you think we're that much better. But how many times have you been to one of those kind of auctions, like at the sale barn or something, and the auctioneer's up there, and you don't know really where they're at, where they're going, and so on and so forth. That does not make you a good customer. So like any customer relationship, it is crucial that we be clear and understandable, that the offer that we're making is clear and understandable. Other thing to have is tonality and pitch. It's one thing to be clear and understandable. It's also important that we are able to use these strengths, that we're able to use both the tonality and our pitch to our advantage, so that we're able to keep the crowd, the audience interested, and also so that these things do not work against us. I went to auction school at the age of 17, and it was a neat experience. I went all the way to Burt Smith, Arkansas. What a great cultural experience that must have been, as you can imagine. And got to meet people from all over the world, though. One of the guys I went to auction school with was a lovable guy from New York. And we all learned the same chant, but when he would get up there and take the microphone in hand, it would go something like this. Hey, well, all right, I'm $1, $1, $2, they give it $2, I'm a $2.50, $2.50, $2.50, a half a dollar. You won't give a lousy half a dollar? Come on, 2.5 and now 3. 2.5 and 3, what'd you give, 3? What? $2.75, you say? $2.75, he says. Well, I take $2.75. I'm like a graveyard. I'll take anything. $2.75 and not 3, and so on and so on. And the guy was lovable. He did great in his part of the world, I'm sure. But tonality-wise, would that play in Oklahoma? Probably not. I know it wouldn't go over so well in my home county of Roger Mills County, because that's just the tonality one. And it's probably no secret, it's probably no surprise when you consider that the majority of international champions are from the Southwest, and I'm pleased to tell you that most of them either come from Oklahoma or Texas. So our neighbors down here, because we got that good tonality, we know how to make those things work, that is something that is pleasant to the ear. So the tonality is something we've got to be very careful about. And again, it can also be something that we can work with to keep the crowd engaged. We can go up, we can go down, we can bounce, we can do all these different things. But it's important, very important, that as the auctioneer, we work on those things. We work on the tonality and so on and so forth. Finally, and probably the most important thing, is that we have a rhythm. Rhythm is important because the crowd, you are going to be listening to the auctioneer all day a lot of times. So it's good if there is a groove that you as the listener can fall into, that you'll want to get in there. It's also important to the auctioneer because you're going to be working all day a lot of times. And like anything, it's good to be able to get into a rhythm and to stay there. So it helps create that win-win relationship. Now, I'm sure it's no secret, you can tell by looking, that jogging is something I do not do. However, those of you that do jog know that once you get into that sort of that runner's mindset, you get that right rhythm going, you can run and run and run. Same thing with the auction chant. What looks really hard, once you get into a rhythm, you're home free. So it is about the clarity, how clear and understandable you are. It is about having a good tonality so that your audience can listen to you on a long-term basis. And it's also about having a good rhythm. The rhythm being that baseline, that common thread that runs through all of it, so that you have the ability to go all day and make sure that the crowd can listen to you all day. These are the basic things right here, the basic fundamentals as far as the voice goes. And these are the tools you also have to work with. And probably, again, not at all like what you do every day. If you think about it, you can probably break down a lot of the jobs we do into its component parts, and we can find that if we can make little improvements in little areas, a lot of times we can make all kinds of difference in our overall performance. So clarity, tonality, and rhythm are the important things. One exercise that helps us work on these things is the use of the tongue twisters. The tongue twisters. For example, I'm going to show you a couple of these in a minute. Usually, as you know, on the program, I'm usually on a little bit later. Usually the bar's been open for about an hour, and that kind of tends to help with our rhythm and tonality, etc. But we don't have that, so today is a little bit of a challenge for us. Today we're going to have to do it on the fly here, but the first tongue twister we shall explore together is Around the Rough and Rugged Rock, the Ragged Rascal Ran. It's called the Ragged Rascal, and it goes around the rough and rugged rock, the Ragged Rascal ran. Around the rough and rugged rock, the Ragged Rascal ran. Simple little thing there, fun little bouncy thing. Around the rough and rugged rock, the Ragged Rascal ran. May I have a volunteer? Does there exist a volunteer in this room who would be kind enough to stand up? Maybe someone who could be volunteered, apparently, who would stand up and give that a shot. Give that a shot. A little encouragement, if we could. I'll get a minute. You cannot fail, my good man. You cannot fail. There you go. Do it on your own terms. Well done.
Around the rough and rugged rock, the Ragged Rascal ran.
Dude, oh, he's good. Oh, he's good. See what a good teacher I am. Well done, my good man. Well done. Here's a little something for you, for your kindness and stepping out there. Isn't that a good example of leadership? Just you think about that. Doesn't know me from Adam, has no reason to trust me whatsoever. I ask him to do this. He steps up there and does it, and lo and behold, smidgen of a reward in there for him. It also does not have the benefit of having a couple of little secrets that can help all of us do this thing better. One of the things that helps us in terms of using these kind of tough words, and anytime we got something we may trip over, is to get that rhythm in place there, to fall into that rhythm. You'll notice, for example, a guy named Mel Tillis, who all know, you guys are too young to remember, well, maybe not so much. Mel Tillis was known for his... The stutter, yes, exactly. That was kind of his trademark. But Mel never stuttered when he sang, did he? Nobody stutters when they sing. It ties into that rhythm thing, and there's a very good, logical, specific, scientific explanation for why that is. Probably. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure there is a good explanation out there for why that works. That's an element we're going to add here. We're going to add a little bit of a hum, and then we're going to do the Ragged Rascal ourselves together. Let's practice the hum together, if we could, please. Very good. Deep breath into the nose. And a hum all together as a group. Here we go. Around the rough and rugged rock, the Ragged Rascal ran. Again, around the rough and rugged rock, the Ragged Rascal ran. Listen to that rhythm once more. Around the rough and rugged rock, the Ragged Rascal ran. You are too awesome. Let's try it again. Let's put a little more from down here this time. Add a little bit of bass to it. Just as much rhythm, but really belt it out this time. Around the rough and rugged rock, the Ragged Rascal ran. Indeed. Well done, ladies and gentlemen. Well done. So you see the power there of just putting a little bit of rhythm into it, how that can be, like we talked about, the baseline upon which we can build. So that's the Ragged Rascal. This one may be just a smidgen more complicated, but doing it cold here, we can go right down the line using our tonality thing. This one is called Tommy Tatamus. Tommy Tatamus took two T's, tied them atop of two tall trees. Tommy Tatamus took two T's, tied them atop of two tall trees. One more. Tommy Tatamus took two T's, tied them atop of two tall trees. So as we were working on our rhythm and so on, we would work on each word, do our very best to hone each word as we're doing that, and then plug in the rhythm like what we're going to do now, because we'll see the rhythm helps it all to come alive. So once again, our hum, kind of sing it out now, deep breath into the nose. And a hum. Tommy Tatamus took two T's and he tied them atop of two tall trees. Tommy Tatimus took 2 T's, tied 'em atop of 2 tall trees. Well done. Tommy Tatimus took 2 T's, tied 'em atop of 2 tall trees. Well done, well done. And so you see again, now maybe that feels a smidgen on the silly side too, doesn't it? You kind of go, well, what's this got to do with anything? And it may be more fun to see. Now, you guys probably don't do this, but a lot of times when I speak at a convention, I later learn that this comes up again about midnight at the old tavern, and it can get kind of interesting. They go to practicing their tongue twisters, and it kind of comes out, that's ragged rascal, that Tommy Tatimus in the hell with a rocket who fell out of a tree. Woo! So take them, do with them what you want to. They are yours. They are a gift. Now, what's kind of fun, too, is to take these little techniques when you get home. And if you have kids, help them work through these things. Help show them how you take big things, break them down in their component parts, and you can, in fact, make them work there. So those are the tongue twisters. Again, those are tools we use for warm-up. Those are tools we use to help hone other parts of our chant. Now we shall move into the fundamentals of the chant. And that's what's neat is all auctioneers do these things. They do the tongue twisters and so on and so forth. They're like warm-up acts that we do. The chant fundamentals, though. This is the auction chant. We've done the tongue twister. We've talked about rhythm. We know how to get into that rhythm. Now we'll talk about what this thing known as the chant is indeed. Simple thing. There are 2 basic components of the auctioneer's chant. It's what the existing bid is and the asking bid. It's where we are and where we want to go. Simply put, it's what I have and what I want. I bet $1 bill, who'll give 2? I bet $5, who'll give 10? I bet $1,000, would you give 2,000? What I have and what I want. The existing bid and the asking bid. That is all in the world it is. What I have and what I want. Same, strategic planning 101, basically. Where are we today? What's our situation? Where do we want to go? What do we do to go about bridging that gap? So it's what I have and what I want. There are a lot of different ways we can go about accomplishing that little objective, about selling product. And we utilize a little something known as the numbers brackets. The numbers brackets will depend on the item which we are selling. So if we were selling, say, cattle or something, if we're selling cattle, we'll use a lot of quarter, half, 75, 1, 1 1/4, 1 1/2, 75, 2, nickels, dimes, and so forth. If we're selling antiques or an estate sale, we might use the $1 bracket. We might use the 5, the 10, the 15, the 20. It depends on the item that you are selling. And so once again, this is basic marketing. It's marketing in its purest form, basically. You got the 2 people that want it most right there at the only time in their life they may have to buy that particular item. And that's what we're doing. We're opening up transactions. We're opening relationships as we go there. What I have and what I want. And the numbers help us do that. So we pick the numbers bracket based on whatever we're selling. And as the auctioneer, what you would do is practice, 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 practice. So that you always knew quarter, half, 75, 1, 1 1/4, 1 1/2, 175, 2, 2 1/4, 2 1/2, 275, 3. So that those just become automatic. Literally, as an auctioneer, this becomes so automatic, you can be sitting there thinking about the next item you're going to sell, what you're going to have for dinner, whatever. You just go on automatic pilot, really, because you have these things, you have such great command of them. The numbers are good, but what's also helpful is to plug in some filler words. Now, if you just had the numbers and you just had rhythm, you would have enough to do the auction chant. You could simply go, oh, 1 now, tune, 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 oh, 1 now, tune, 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 tune. You see, you'd have that ability should you want to do it that way. In fact, one of the greatest auctioneers who ever lived, he's an international champion, as a matter of fact. The people who are here from Bonita, where are our folks that are here from Bonita? We have folks from Bonita. Your neighbor down the road, Mr. Greg Highsmith. Yes, indeed. I'm telling you, he does multi-million-dollar auctions. He is a state champion, international champion. He is praised around the world for the rhythm. He does workshops around the world for other auctioneers in his rhythm. He uses very few filler words. He's got this beautiful singing voice, and it's just all on here, tune, 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 one here, tune, 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 tune. You see, using the tonality and the pitch and so on and so forth. A lot of us, though, like to use filler words. Filler words just kind of help have a little bit more of a bounce to it. It's a little more fun for the crowd to kind of listen to and kind of wonder what's being said there. It also, quite frankly, keeps you, the auctioneer, from getting bored because you kind of want to play around with some new words once in a while. Remember what we're doing. The asking bid and the existing bid and the asking bid. I'm at $1, I want 2. I'm at $1, who will give 2? So that's what we're heading for there. What we then use are some kind of filler words to help us get there. So anything would work. Here's just some examples that some of my auctioneer friends tend to use there. Bid them on, put them on, and get a dollar biller, and hooliga. Simply put, you plug these into the brackets. I am bid 1, bid 1, bid them on a 2, bid them on 3, bid them on 4, bid them on 5, bid them on 6, bid them on 7. 1, put them on a 2, put them on a 3, put them on a 4, put them on a 5, put them on a 6, put them on a 7. 1, get a 2, get a 3, get a 4, get a 5, get a 6. Anybody here from Enid or Ringling in that area, in that particular area? Troy Lepard. Troy Lepard, you'll know a secret of his trade right there. State champion Troy Lepard, that's his favorite filler word. Get a. $1 bidder, $2 bidder, $3 bidder, 4, and so on and so forth. The thing is, you find something that matches your strengths. Just like anything else that we do, we find the things that match up what we want to do and what matches our strengths, and you customize the thing to do it on your own. So it's the brackets and the filler words. So now we're going to put those together. And the filler word I picked out for us to use today, just so we'd all be on the same page here, but again, you're welcome to pick your own later on if you want to. This is one that's nice and simple and straightforward. It's called woodiga. Woodiga simply is an amalgam of the words would you give. So rather than just go 1, would you give 2, would you give 3, would you give 4, and you've seen some of those posh auctions do that, I'm at $1, who'll give 2, $2, thank you, and now 3. Boring. Let's instead give it something that the audience wants to listen to. And rather than just say 1, would you give 2, would you give 3, we can shorten it up and give it something that's got more tone and more rhythm by making it with a little more bounce to it. So our filler word, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be woodiga. Fun little word. Let's all say that together now, shall we? Woodiga. Fun little word. Once again. Woodiga. We can say it several times. Woodiga, woodiga. Woodiga, 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 woodiga. Notice how you... maybe we ought to work it out. Let's work a little more there, maybe. Woodiga, 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 woodiga. There you go. There you go. I jumped ahead there. Sorry about that. Shouldn't run off and leave you on that. Well done. Well done. You also see that one little simple word there. We could take that and use our tonality and pitch and do some stuff with it too. We could start way down here in the basement like we did a while ago, and let's start down there. Woodiga, 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 way down low. Let's all go together. Woodiga, 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 coming up, and woodiga, 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 come on, I'm losing you, woodiga, 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 oh, woodiga, 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 woodiga. So you see, tonality and pitch, the things you can do there. Woodiga, woodiga, woodiga. Simple little thing there. So what we're going to do, what we do then, we take our filler words and we then use that with a bracket, and we, ladies and gentlemen, shall be off and running. And just to keep things nice and simple and keep a nice little bracket we can all relate to, let's look at the ones bracket, and we shall practice, just a second here, we're going to go simply. 1, would it get 2, would it get 3, would it get 4, would it get 5, would it get 6, would it get 7, would it get 8, would it get 9, would it get 10. Let's all say it. We'll just say it. We won't put any rhythm. We'll just say it so we get a feel for the words. 1, would it get 2, would it get 3, would it get 4, would it get 5, would it get 6, would it get 7, would it get 8, would it get 9, would it get 10. Well done. One more time just to be safe. 1, would it get 2, would it get 3, would it get 4, would it get 5, would it get 6, would it get 7, would it get 8, would it get 9, would it get 10. Now let's put the hum into it. Start with our hum. 1, would it get 2, would it get 3, would it get 4, would it get 5, would it get 6, would it get 7, would it get 8, would it get 9, would it get 10. Beautiful rhythm, ladies and gentlemen, once again. 1, would it get 2, would it get 3, would it get 4, would it get 5, would it get 6, would it get 7, would it get 8, would it get 9, would it get 10. It is just that simple. How about that? You simply put rhythm to it, and what? You could do that, my good man. We're already getting creative over here. There are auctioneers that would do it that way. They would do it twice. 1, would it get 2, would it get 3, would it get 4, would it get 5. So well done, sir. Well done. You can teach the advanced class. Awesome. Well done. But there we have it. We have the basics of the auction chant. Now, obviously, what we've done here can help us as far as if we want to get better and better. We just throw this at you. It's only 15 minutes or so that we talk about this. Good idea to always warm up because you want to get those vocal cords in gear there. Work through our tongue twisters and so on. And the key thing is to practice, 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 practice. We have the fundamentals. We break it down into its core component parts, and everything else becomes practice and honing on those particular parts. If anybody's ever taken martial arts, that's what a lot of karate classes are about, or a lot of karate programs are about. It's about 4 to 10 basic moves, and you just build on those moves, and that's what all the way up to black belt level, you just take those basic fundamentals and build on it. But like anything else in life, we take it and we practice and we practice and we practice and we practice. Now, a question that might just potentially be on someone's mind is, well, what the heck does this have to do with anything? I mean, it was marginally enjoyable, but since no alcohol was being served, why would we do that? Well, one of the things that all of us, I'm just betting that all of us are going to be dealing with at some time or another, is change. Is that a fair statement? The one possibility, the one thing we can almost guarantee is change. Rarely will I run into anybody that's doing the same thing, the exact same job today that they were doing 5 years ago, and especially like 10 years ago or whatever. We are in a very dynamic business environment, and whether we're a for-profit or a not-for-profit, whether we serve customers or stakeholders or shareholders or whatever we label the people we serve, things are changing there. Whether the legislation is changing, technology is changing, whether customer expectations are changing, a lot of these tend to change totally out from under us. They can change certainly without our wanting it to, and a lot of these are totally beyond our control. I appreciate you folks being willing to jump in there and work with me, but if you think about it, I deliberately came in here and dumped something in your lap you didn't really bet on, did you? Nobody said, hey, go get that guy to come down here and teach us how to be auctioneers. Did you wake up today thinking, gosh, by 4 o'clock I'm going to know how to do the auction chant? That's my goal for the day. I threw that one at you out of the blue. You, on the other hand, just did a masterful job of owning the fundamentals of the auction chant. What was it that you had to do to make that possible? Ma'am? Practice, indeed. Practice, practice, practice. It couldn't be a correspondence course, could it? We had to do this thing working back and forth. And you had to do the practice, didn't you? I could give you the idea, I could do the coaching, I could give the basic fundamentals, put the little slides up and all that. But ultimately, you had to take ownership of it. You had to take the risks, step out there, or be stepped out, I guess, in some cases. Good to have friends like that, huh? But you had to be willing to do that. And so even though you may not want to look at a career change, here's what I'd like us to think about. Here's what I'd like us to, or maybe if you do, that's not what I came here for, but one of the things, if you go back Monday morning and some great big challenge is on your desk, or there's some great big email that all of a sudden is, totally off the radar, this is something you're going to have to deal with, remember a few things. Remember, you just learned something totally brand new that some of you may have never even thought of trying to learn in around 15 minutes or so, and you mastered it because of your willingness to practice, your courage in stepping forward and doing that, your willingness to participate and be a little flexible, and also remember that whatever's going to come your way Monday morning, chances are you've probably already got some experience. It may not be the exact problem that you're going to deal with, but you probably already got some experience you bring to that. So what I would like to ask you to do is go back, hum a little bit, do a little rough and ragged rock, whatever that was we did a while ago. Around the rough and rugged rock the ragged rascal ran. Say that. Remember how we had a couple of giggles when we were doing that. And then launch into solving whatever problem it is because, hey, it's got nothing on you because you just demonstrated how you're able to do that. So the goal was just to have a little fun and shake things up a little bit and have us do a few things as a group. But there are a couple of little takeaways if we want to dig for them and find them. And I hope that that's something that will be of help to you as we do that. Main thing that we want to talk about today, though, was the idea of branding. Now, this whole idea, I'm almost kind of branding, it's sort of a hot topic, And it's also kind of this topic that people are kind of going, yeah, we've already talked about it, we've got it, let's move on to the next thing. And so if anything you've already heard, it's not my intention to come here and be critical. It is my intention to come here and help contribute to that and be an ambassador for the whole notion of branding, because that really is where it's at, ladies and gentlemen. One of the big reasons that I'm such an ambassador for branding is because branding is the one big thing that can help involve you more than anything. The message I would like to send with you today, I always mess around and don't get to the conclusion, so I'll give you the conclusion first. The conclusion is you are the brand. You are the entire organization. Now, there's other things we talk about, all the buzzwords, brand equity, brand audit, brand signals, all these different things, and they are all very important. Anytime you've spent studying and applying that is a good thing. But the huge, huge thing to bear in mind is that you are the brand. If I'm not the first guy to plant that seed, please let me just water it and nurture it for you today, because that's what's going to make the difference from now on. As we talk about how do we build these customer relationships? As these challenges do come down the pike, we talked about there may be challenges on your desk Monday morning when you go back. Sometimes these are challenges you have to take out there and go face to face with a customer with and deal with, right? Sometimes there are things you got to be the bearer of bad news sometimes, and that's not very much fun. I know how that is. But the thing to bear in mind is that you are the brand. To those folks that you're dealing with, you are the entire organization. You are your territory. You are the entire electric cooperative for the area that you serve. You are that for this industry here in Oklahoma. Nationwide, in fact, the only interface a lot of these folks have with the idea of electrical service for rural America is you. So you play a huge, huge role there, and the sad thing is you probably don't get the appreciation you deserve. And so I'm also here to make a little confession, if you will indulge me, just for a moment. My hometown is Roll, Oklahoma. Now, I know at least one person in the room knows where Roll, Oklahoma is, but does anyone else know where Roll, Oklahoma is? One person knows where Roll, Oklahoma is. Has that one person ever by chance been to Roll, Oklahoma? Well, how about that? That's awesome. Most times, people in the world that I go and speak aren't even aware that Roll, Oklahoma exists, which always causes me to beg the question, well, where do these people go on vacation? If they didn't know that. Yeah, sad but true, but yeah. You sure won't be bothered by crowds or mildew out at Roll, Oklahoma, so that's a good thing. But growing up, I grew up out there, and my dad ran a little grocery store at the intersection of highways 47 and 283. And it's just a fallen down little place now, but back in those days, that was a great, great way of life. I am a father of an 8-month-old at home now, and I kind of regret that he's never going to have some of the unique experiences I did growing up, and maybe some of the folks in this room did too if you grew up in any kind of rural environment. We didn't have rural water until I was in the 3rd grade. We had well water, more accurately, we had sandy well water until we got a rural water system in the 3rd grade. Until I was in the 5th grade, we only had one television station. It was out of Amarillo, Texas. In the 5th grade, we in fact got public television, so we had a whole 2 channels on the dial there. Up until I was in the 6th grade, we had party line telephones, if you remember what those things were. You probably heard your grandparents talk about those. We still had those in rural Oklahoma. And we did, though, by the time I was in high school, I'm proud to tell you we did get all 3 networks, and we even got a couple more. We had a total like 6 channels or something by the time I was a sophomore in high school. We called that the Renaissance era, by the way, when that happened. But all that time, though, throughout all those things, we always had electricity. We always had electricity, although I got to tell you, we always just sort of took that for granted. We always had electricity. Now there would be outages once in a while, which is going to happen in Oklahoma with ice storms and high winds and all those kind of things. But we always knew that the electricity would be back on. If someone were doing a brand audit and asked me to describe my experiences with the REC, it was the REA back in those days, again showing you how old I am, I guess. If someone was to ask me what was my impression, what was my experience, my one word to describe my expression with rural electric services, it would have been dependable. It would have been dependable because a guy named Mark McDaniel, who worked on the lines out there, if something happened, he would be out there before you knew it to get the thing back up. So we didn't send a lot of thank you notes, hey, thanks for providing electrical service, but we always knew it was going to be there. that whole brand. I couldn't tell you very much, even though I gave a speech on it in high school. I couldn't tell you very much about the history and so on and so forth, but I always had good impressions of the whole business thanks to the dependability, not just of the company, not just of the organization, but of Mr. Mark McDaniel. He has since moved to Hooker, Oklahoma. We got folks from Hooker in here, I believe. Good man. He may have retired. He has indeed retired. Love to catch up and see how everything's going with him as far as that goes. But the point, though, is more than likely, there are several people that you work with in your territory that, to them, you are the organization. You know, we can do all kinds of flyers and ads and public service announcements and mail-outs and all these kind of things, but to those folks, you are the entire organization. And that is a great honor. That is really a huge thing to bear, though, isn't it? I mean, sometimes that's, you're carrying the whole company around on your back, no wonder you're so tired, right? I mean, it's an awful lot of things to bear there. So we may not always be good about coming out and saying thank you, but all of us that are your customers do in fact owe you a great deal because we know that you're going to take good care of us. In fact, it's neat to me, the quality of life that exists out there, and electricity certainly is a huge, huge part of that as you guys fight that good fight. I mean, you think about it, even though, they've had electricity out there for generations, if you think about what you're doing today, it's not at all, the challenges are probably more than they were when this first started. We're having increasing technology, increasing legislation, all these other things. It's not getting any easier, is it? So you folks deserve a big pat on the back for the kind of things you're doing to make those great things happen out there to give people that good quality life in rural America. And again, like I said, I get out there as often as I can, and it just amazes me how it makes me a little homesick, frankly, to even talk about what all is going on there. But the folks that you serve owe you a great debt of thanks. And I know you don't do it for that. I know that's not what you do it for because you're a customer too. That's where you live and raise your family also, so you've got a very vested interest in what goes on out there too. I'm betting, though, that if you had a couple of ways that you could leverage some of your precious time to help grow this brand called you and maybe make life a little easier, that might be something that could be a little bit valuable to you. Correct. Perhaps. One or two things maybe that might be of help. Because you are the brand, what you're doing there is, we could call it personal selling, but that wouldn't be exactly accurate. A lot of what you're doing, I'm imagining, is networking. Because I'm imagining a lot of you probably on boards, you probably go to chambers of commerce, you probably do a lot of those things. You're very active and you're very visible out there to the folks that you serve. And one of the ways you might be able to help, that might help deal with some of these challenges, because again, sometimes you got to be the bearer of bad news. I would argue the more visible you are, the easier it becomes to be that standard bearer. The more personal relationships you build out there, if each of those could be an opportunity to help educate folks as to why the rates may be going up or why service might be out sometimes or things of that nature, that can help grow this brand called you. Because the more people who know that story, they can then go and tell other people that story as well. Each of us knows about 200 or so people. The average wedding attendance is around 200 or so. Different studies have found different things, but if you really were pressed to sit down and make a list, each of us probably knows around 200 people. You probably know a lot more. Some people might know less, but that's about the average. At least we would know 200 or so people. Imagine if the people that you knew could be doing what you do, if they were ambassadors for you, if they were out there telling that story so that the other people that they're out there helping educate the rest of the community about what you folks do and why it's so important and so on and so forth. So I would encourage you, the more of this networking that you do, the better off you can be. One way to really get exponential returns on your networking is to move into leadership roles. Now, that may not be what you want to hear. You may already be doing a lot of that, and if you are, great. I'm not here to put more things on your plate. But the more visible you become, the more access people can feel like they have to you. And again, that just can be one of those things that helps build your brand. It may seem a little far-fetched, but this can actually have a payoff. Does anybody in the room know who Mike Newcomb is? He works for OG&E. He is a marketing guy for OG&E. And one person knows Mike Newcomb. Beg your pardon? He did indeed go to school at East Central at 80. Yes, and a lot of people seem to know that. That seemed like he left quite an impression at East Central in 80, from what I understand. But Mike and I were in the American Marketing Association together. Mike does what you do for OG&E. He's their community relations representative. He's out there. He is keeping a presence. He's doing his thing to educate people about the good things OG&E is doing, all that wonderful stuff. The other day, our electricity goes out. And, you know, the electricity is on 364 days out of the year, but one few hour period where it goes off, oh my goodness, how could this possibly be? You know, we can't survive and all this. Oddly enough, we didn't find ourselves getting too angry about that because we just kind of knew that sometimes these things happen. We also knew that there was always a crew on standby to get things up and running. We knew the average amount of time electricity was typically going to be out. And doggone it, we just liked old Mike, and we knew that those guys were working as hard as they could to make this thing happen. Now, again, that may be a little bit far-fetched, but just imagine if you could make one or two of those people out there have that kind of an attitude. One or two of those people that be ambassadors and go out and tell their neighbors like we did, say, they'll get it back up. Here's what they do in this kind of situation, and so on and so forth. So your networking can indeed be some great effort that I believe will pay some dividends for you. So I would encourage you, all those things that you're doing out there, if it seems like it's one more thing for the to-do list, I would encourage you, don't think of it that way. Think of this as one more great opportunity to maybe add a helper to you, to the brand that is you, to potentially, to perhaps, I know it's a little bit of a stretch, but it's very possible to get those folks to be ambassadors for the message you're trying to carry. So all these relationships could really pay off for you exponentially if you indeed make them work. So that's a basic thing I wanted to share about that. Let's again, so that we make sure we are wrapping things up on a higher note. Let's go back and do a little more rugged rascal. And again, the bar has not opened yet, so I maybe a bit of a disadvantage here. One more time. Around the rough and rugged rock, the ragged rascal ran. Once more. Around the rough and rugged rock, the